At the beginning, a woman opens the door first, but a black wall blocks her way. The wall is covered in many cold, metal-like objects. It doesn't look like it was made by human hands at all. Husband Tim and wife Ellie look at each other in surprise. Tim quickly walks towards the monitor near the door, but the screen only shows a blurry image like ice. At the same time, Ellie's panicked voice comes from behind. Tim turns around, but he doesn't see it as a faint blue light passes over the black wall. Fear appears in Ellie's eyes because now the windows are completely blocked with black bricks. Before he kicks the wall doesn't move a hair. What's even more frightening is that the mobile phone is no longer receiving any signal. Tim walks around the room with the mobile phone. That's when he realizes that the electromagnetic interference of the mobile phone has started near the wall. Ella takes out a drill from the toolbox. The sharp head of it rotates on the wall, but it doesn't make a single scratch. The two try to drill a hole in the wall, but the drill head gets so hot that it turns red. Then that mysterious black wall remains completely intact. Tim and Ellie don't give up, and now they try to drill into other ordinary walls, but they soon realize that there is the same black wall on the other side of the wall, as if someone has locked the entire apartment from the outside. The two are startled when they hear a loud banging sound from the other side of the wall. The two immediately turn on the drill, and this time they don't encounter any obstacles. A very large hole is made in the wall. On the other side of the wall is another newlywed couple, and the man shouts that he wants to cancel the room from the owner. It is clear that they also realize that they're trapped here. Elle doesn't have a long breath. It seems that the entire outside of walls in the apartment are closed in black. Meanwhile, Tim notices that the water is no longer coming from the taps in all the places. Still, he doesn't give up. Instead, he suggests that it should be solved like a puzzle game. But Tim's words broke Ella's mental state. Ella broke down and shouted at her husband that how long will you be crazy about work? Actually, Ella had planned to go for a walk yesterday, but Tim said that he had to develop games for the company, so he refused. And now, the next morning, the two of them are trapped in this apartment. When the atmosphere calmed down completely, Tim's eyes suddenly fell on the black wall, where a metal block was stuck. He slowly approached the wall and realized that there was a strong magnetic force there. The two of them gathered all the metal objects in the house in one place. After trying many times, they realized that the magnetic force was the highest in 4 specific parts of the wall. Ella thought that maybe there would be a new pattern from this, but then he saw that all those metal objects started shaking violently. Tim suspected that something was wrong. He quickly pushed Ella to the ground. At that time, the metal objects on the wall rushed towards them. After this terrifying moment, Tim and Ellie are completely terrified, and now they're about to take their walls. They have no intention of investigating. Now their only hope is that maybe tomorrow the wall will move on its own. Suddenly, there's a very loud fight on the other side of the wall, and then a woman's painful scream comes from there. Tim and Ellie think something bad has happened to their neighbors. They quickly drill another large hole in the wall and quickly enter the other apartment. As soon as they go inside, they see bloodstains on the floor.
They follow the stains to the bedroom, where the female neighbor is seen lying on the floor. Just as everyone is thinking of leaving, a man suddenly jumps in and throws Tim to the ground. But at this critical moment, Elle uses pepper spray, and Tim gets the chance to stand up. Just as he is about to attack her with a baseball bat, the woman suddenly appears in front of his girlfriend. Both Tim and Ellie are shocked. For a while, they don't understand what happened. Then they gradually learn that these two neighbors actually live alone, and that they probably just took some national tablets due to which their mental load time was wasted, and that's when all the chaos happened. Tim is a little worried and goes to the storeroom hoping to get some tools from there. Whenever he goes to the power switcher, a strange wave flashes from behind the wall. There, Tim finds a small cellar. He hits the black wall with a man's hard stick, but even then, it doesn't make a single impact. That's when Eller gets an idea. When it's impossible to break the wall, how about building a road underneath? When he was shifting to the apartment, he noticed that there was a bunker from the Second World War under this old building, and such bunkers are often connected to metro stations. This might be their only way out. Following Eller's advice, Tim tries to break through the cellar. The female neighbor, whose name is Anna, everything seemed like a terrifying escape room for him. On the other hand, the man, whose name is Marvin, he thinks it is some conspiracy of the owner of the house because the entire building is his private property. After Tim's continuous efforts, a hole is finally made in the maze. But there is only darkness below. There is no response to his voice. Tim twists the bedsheet like a rope and decides to go down himself. As soon as he gets down to his flower, an old man suddenly comes there, who has a weapon in his hand. He immediately tells Tim to leave from there. Everyone convinces him that they only want to go to the basement, but the old man doesn't listen. Just then, a young woman named Leah comes out of the room. She tells her grandfather not to be so strict. The old man thinks for a moment, and then it means he shouldn't let his granddaughter die with him. Finally, he agrees to join Ella's escape plan, but then Tim's eyes fall on a smoke director from the roof above. When he picks up the broken part of it, he sees a V-shaped camera hidden inside. He quickly asks the old man, "Who did you know about this?" The old man is surprised and says that the owner installed these alarms. Now Tim starts to suspect it. He runs to the kitchen and sees a second smoke from the roof. The alarm breaks and there is a hidden camera there. Everyone is suddenly shocked that the owner must be some crazy person imitating reality show. Suddenly they remember that the owner lives on the next flight, and how would it be if they went and confronted him directly? Everyone breaks the wall together and enters the owner's room, but there is silence all around. After a lot of searching, they finally find the body of his owner in a corner, and the surprising thing is that both his hands were missing. Tim picks up his mobile and only finds a few black wall pictures. The mysterious death of the owner has scared everyone. Now they start to suspect that maybe this is not the real world, maybe they are dreaming.
Then Eli finds the newspaper page where it is written that there was a terrible fire in the Hamburg port area yesterday. Tim suddenly remembers that he saw a fire on the street yesterday, which caused so much explosion that even an army helicopter had to be called. While everyone is arguing among themselves, the table suddenly collapses and the four of them fall into their flat. When the dust clears, a man slowly comes in front of them who introduces himself as Yuri. He says that he did not come to stay there but to see his friend Jason. When he learns that the rest want to escape to Banga, Yuri replies, "Seriously, maybe there has been a biological disaster outside and this black wall is ours." It was made to save it, but Eli is not bothered by his words at all, but asks, "Where is your friend Jason?" Yuri takes everyone to the room where Jason is caught breathing on the bed. Yuri says that this morning when Jason went near the black wall, his death may have had some effect on the rhythmic pulse. Tim remembers that when his mobile goes near the black wall, electromagnetic interference occurs. His suspicions grow even more. They cannot stop their desire to escape from this building. And everyone starts digging the ground again. Finally, they break the wooden floor of the basement. Everyone starts moving forward in the dark path. Before they go far, the heavy door of the aired bunker comes into view. A smile of hope returns to everyone's face. They feel that freedom is now just a few steps away. But when Al breaks the door and opens it, everyone stops at the scene in front of them. No one could understand how this black wall had come 10 meters below the field. Marvin's courage was broken. He started hitting the wall like crazy. Tim was scared and went towards him. He was afraid that he might break the only elephant. Now Marvin's eyes were empty. He turned around and suddenly took the old man's gun in his hand. And then he pulled the trigger directly on the black wall. But the bullets hit the wall and got stuck and started spinning at a very high speed. Tim suddenly remembered that things had hit the wall and returned. He immediately shouted and everyone leaned down. And the next moment the bullets returned at the same speed. The old man leaned a little late. As a result, several bullets speared his chest and exited. Marvin was stunned. His stupidity had taken the life of a comrade. This broke his hope of escape again. Everyone's heart seemed to be weighted down by the weight of the black wall. Tim forced himself to calm down. As a professional game developer, he feels that the game has clues to pass each stage they have to collect. So maybe there is a way here too. He suggests that they should go back to the owner's house and look for old renovation records or CCTV footage. But Elle and the bidder's granddaughter stay here. They go to the dead Jason's house. Maybe there will be a clue there. He takes out a visiting card from a drawer from which it is known that Jason was an engineer at a Nanodefense technology company. Elle also finds a broken laptop and mobile phone under the table. Yuri quickly assumes that Jason may have broken it in frustration. On the other hand, Tim and the others search every corner of the owner's house. But alas, they do not find any clues. Tim finds it very strange that the owner's two hands have finally gone where. At the same time, his eyes fall on the incident in the house. He feels that the size of this house is slightly smaller than his own apartment. He carefully examines the walls, after which he really hears the sound of a hollow space inside a place.
Now the question is how to open that place. Then Marvin finds a 10-digit password panel inside a door. That's when Egg has an idea. He brings flour from the kitchen and slowly sprinkles it on the panel. This makes the buttons that were pressed the most visible with a layer of flour. Now they only have to try 24 combinations of 4 swingers. Marvin's girlfriend Ada runs downstairs to tell Ellie everything. Now only Leah is left alone in Jason's room. She is still trying to find a clue. At that moment, her eyes suddenly fall on Jason's scarf. She feels something is wrong. She removes the scarf suspiciously, and when she sees the deep blue mark on the neck, it is clearly understood that it is a sign of strangulation. Enid is shocked. At that moment, Yuri's shadow appears behind her like a ghost. In the meantime, Tim and Bucky, who were in the owner's house, finally succeeded opening the door to the hidden room after many attempts. In front of them was an old control room. Dozens of monitors were showing the private activities of every room in the entire apartment. Now everyone's suspicions were confirmed. The owner was a psychopath. He wanted to turn everyone into a live show. The team immediately played the CCTV footage from the previous night. The video clearly showed the black wall suddenly appearing in a flash. When they slowed down the playback speed, they saw that the dial was actually made of black smoke. Everyone was surprised. Then they shifted the video to Jason's room. It was clear that Jason had not fainted like Yuri had said, but rather he went to the door and made some settings. And when his phone's flashlight turned on, the sunlight came through the black wall and entered. It was clear that Jason had a way to open the black wall. When everyone turned around, they saw that Yuri was not there. He had disappeared from there. Marvin immediately ran to look for him. When he reached Jason's room, he saw Yuri burning some rivers, and where Ana was, she was now lying dead next to the bed. Yuri had a terrible smile on his face. He was emphasizing again that the black wall was a wall of protection for everyone. At the same time, footage began to play on the monitors in which Yuri clearly killed Jason. It seemed to be doing. Tim understood the seriousness of the situation and immediately ran to Jason's house with weapons. At that time, Yuri was in a head-on confrontation with Marvin. After Tim joined, the two finally brought Yuri under control. On the other hand, Aylar suddenly remembered that the Blackwall Nanodefense company was a product of Tim, and noticed that the address of the company was the same as the place where the fire broke out yesterday. That is, in Hangport City, where Yuri was slapped and brought back to consciousness. In the face of sharp questions from the people there, he began to say in a tired voice, "The activation of an ultimate defense system created by the Black World Nano Company proves that the outside world is in a terrible crisis." Aylar immediately asked the question, if this was true, why did Jason try to open it? Yuri was forced to admit that Jason thought that there was a technical glitch that triggered the system in the fire in the Proto area, and so he wanted to go out and understand the situation, and Yuri took his life to stop him. But when everyone asks Yuri how to open the black wall, he falls silent, as if he will never open his mouth.
Their only hope now is Jason's old activity. They return to the monitor room and start watching the recording. Tim watches the footage over and over again, and a bold thought comes to his mind. He sees that Jason had been sitting in front of his laptop for 3 hours. Maybe he has been writing code that can control the black wall. This suspicion becomes even stronger when the video shows Yuri deliberately breaking Jason's mobile. Tim Sub picks up the broken phone. Its storage chip was protected at that time. He recovers the application from the mobile and copies it to a new phone. Then everyone stands in front of the black wall with fear and hope. After launching the app, 4 squares appear on the screen. Tim presses one of the buttons. The mobile's flash flashes several times. Tim remembers that Jason's phone was also lit like this before opening the black wall on CCTV. He realizes that his guess is correct. As she pressed the 4 squares one after the other, the wall in front of her slowly began to melt. Ana couldn't contain herself with joy. She went forward and put her hand into the wall. She felt as if her fingers were sinking into a thick liquid. But after a few moments, her expression changed. She felt as if she was touching something inside the black wall with her hand. When she wanted to pull her hand out, some force started pulling her in. Both Tim and Ellie immediately started pulling her back. That's when they saw that the black wall was becoming solid again. Everyone pulled with all their strength, but the wall gradually became solid, and finally, Ana broke into 2 pieces. Marvin fell to her knees in a pool of blood.
With her trembling hands, she began to caress half of her lover's body. The two of them wanted to get married after going beyond the black wall. Now they were forever separated into two different worlds. Yuri's crazy laughter could be heard from somewhere in the corner. Marvin had gone completely crazy. He runs and shoots Yuri. Then he looks at the team for a moment and then at himself. He blew it up with the gun. As it turned out, only two people were left in the group, Tim and Ellie. They held back their tears and started discussing again where the mistake had actually been. Now they believed that there was a special arrangement of the 4 buttons, because the number of flashes was different after each button was pressed. Ellie remembered that Jason's entire process had been recorded on the monitor. Now they were watching the number of flashes Jason made repeatedly. At 11:19, Tim and Ellie finally confirmed the correct order of pressing the buttons. When they were about to make their last attempt, Yuri, who was supposed to die, suddenly moved. He stood up without warning and jumped on Tim like a madman. The two ran for their lives. They reached their bunker. Tim blocked the door with his body so that Yuri could not get in. Ellie started touching the mobile screen rapidly. As soon as the 4 squares were pressed in the correct order, the black wall began to vibrate violently. Something like black smoke began to spread around. Their strategy was successful.
But Tim was not happy at all because Yuri had broken the door and entered. When he was about to attack Tim completely, he suddenly fell to the ground. In fact, Ali returned in time and attacked Yuri. In the meantime, the black wall had completely disappeared. Tim and Ali slowly came out of the bunker. Seeing the intense light in front of them, they blinked and moved forward. But the scene in front of them made them lose their senses. Not only their apartment, but every building in the entire city was surrounded by such black walls. At 12:13, they boarded a car and quickly headed towards the port. An announcement was heard on the radio that a terrible fire at the Nanodefense company had hit their system. As a result, the secret protection system was activated from below, so they had to wait until it was fixed. Tim and Ali started to leave the city. And with this movie ends here. They return in time and attack Yuri. Meanwhile, the black wall has completely disappeared. Tim and Ali slowly come out of the bunker. Seeing the intense light ahead, they blink their eyes and move forward. But the scene in front of them make them lose consciousness. Not only their apartment, but every building in the entire city was surrounded by such black walls. At 12:13, they board a car and quickly head towards the boat. An announcement is heard from the radio that a terrible fire at the Nanodefense company has hit their system. As a result, the secret protection system has been activated from below, so they have to wait until it is fixed. Tim and Ali started to leave the city. And with this movie ends here.